Some more typos. During December 1914 and January 15, France receives two of their replacements every turn. Now, start of January 15, what? Until the end of June of 16, they get, okay, well, this is both January. I'm just going to keep, I'm not going to retract the units that I had. They were necessary to stop the Germans. But odd and even turns, they get one each. I'm going to assume that's going to be two per. And it's just the trickle down there. Well, as we slither into February here, the Germans have halted their assault, pulled back troops to a lot of these centers. They've got a lot of replacement points on the board. And my guess is the reason there's so few German replacement points is to limit them from stockpiling them, make them pull units out and use them. If you run out, if you lose them, you use them. Or if you don't use them, you lose them, essentially. So the French are allowed to stockpile their replacements without really throwing them into the line quickly without losing anything in huge quantities. I'm not sure why they need as many as they have. But anyway, the Germans definitely have a tight situation, as I showed. They had run out and only make it to here in terms of the track, so I can't even put what I'm planning out there. But I've got a significant number of points on the board most of last turns, just because I couldn't afford to pull my units off the line. Well, now I can. I'm on the defensive. The only thing I did, and they'll be recuperating next turn, and then they'll be able to move back into the line, and by then I'll have more points and be able to throw more in, etc. Cycling units in and out. The only thing they did was this big assault here, 7 supply points. They only did, they were at like +3 or something. They only did 6 or 7 hits on this, but I have no 30-point marker, so they're down, nor a way to get there easily. So I'm down to a 27, so the French took 9 morale loss. Anyway, that's where we are. And looking over the situation, I saw no opportunities for an Allied attack, so they're also just strengthening their line. I've got to assign the points to the French. They're getting 40 points of replacement points, or of supply points. I also wanted to highlight one of my accoutrements to gaming is a shaving brush. Of course, I still use it to shave as well when I bother to do that. But these glossy maps, and especially when the morning light hits them, you can just see the dust all over them, and it's horrible. And every now and then I'll go through and I'll dust some of the areas of the map that aren't covered with counters. Just sort of an OCD type thing, but you know, over here it's fine. But in the map itself, there's just this massive dirt, and it really gets to me somehow. Germans continue rebuilding their units. They're all up to strength now. Now they can move them back in the line next turn. And they did another siege on this, artillery fire on this. Another 7 supply gone. But they took out 7 more strength points with it. It's vital for them to wipe this out. Now once quickly, because once the French can get troops into there, and they have had trouble moving them quickly enough, once they can get troops into there, it becomes a more painful process to destroy the fortification. But they probably still have a slight advantage to continuing. They don't want to, say, let the French have this spur point. So if they can actually blow it away badly enough that the French don't want to be there anymore and pull back to just these 2 hexes, well, it cleans up and tightens their lines a little bit. Now, if they could get this hex and this hex, but that's not going to happen, then they'd have the rail link that they want to get into this little southern salient. That's really what stopped them, was the lack of rail to a large extent. They couldn't maintain their headquarters where they were easily enough. Okay, I finished up the French Allied side of the second turn in February, and now I'm really seeing something I like about this game as we move into this trench warfare period, is nothing's happening. I mean, absolutely nothing. I like games where nothing happens. It's not that absolutely... So when I say absolutely nothing, I'm being a little facetious there. What's actually kind of going on is trying to figure out, okay, where's the offensive going to go? And the obvious place is here, when the French hit. This is where they want to start the battle. They have 3 units on the line. It's in an area where I think I can kind of crush in and perhaps make attacks from multiple directions. Everything's going to be entrenched at that point. So now it becomes I've got to devote my forces into that salient. And obviously, if the Germans just defend this tremendously, I can launch it on a 2-hex front somewhere else. So the Germans can't, overcompensate when they see my troops hit a certain salient. They could, of course, move more of their forces into that salient, but perhaps I can shift. Now, here's the problem for the French is they kind of telegraph their move anytime they go, because the Germans can rail stuff, drop it into the line, and attack right away. The French can't do that. So wherever an Allied offensive is going to be, it's going to be pretty obvious that it's happening, I don't remember what the British ability is. They may be the wild card in this. I know that their rail ability is not as good as the Germans, but I don't remember on which side it is. Yeah, the British can do the same thing. They can't entrain in a zone of control, but they can detrain and then move into a zone of control, which means they have not quite the same capacity. They can build up a reserve that can be used to strike at an area, and they can shift one of their headquarters, etc. So that becomes my potential strike force, is to throw a British force along the line a little better. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious where the sector that the attack is building up is going to be. And I'm building up the French here because this, I think, is the weakest German position. The terrain's not good, unlike over here. If I start building up here, this would be great to attack, but it's not going to shock anyone. But I might be able to build a little local, power in there or something. Anyway, I've been babbling too much. Just basically throwing some units into the line and preparing enough force. We'll see when it happens. It's going to take several months because right now, I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, under 60 points, I would say. A couple more months, though, and I'm going to be coming near that edge, and I'm going to have to launch the assault. Well, the very quiet month of February continues, and actually I'm done with it at this point. Move the German artillery up around Lille, take that out, get the additional points there. Actually, it should be a lot more points, but I've already scored, I think, the hex sides. So all I'm going to be getting is the 10 or 15 points for that, plus whatever I destroy in the fortification itself, which should be pretty easy with it being surrounded like this, even with the halved strength. Yeah, halved and doubled, essentially, because of the city center there. Gave up on Paris. It just doesn't look like it's going to happen, and why expend ammo on that? Still positioned here, might do this. Neither one's happening right now because I don't have the points in my in my headquarters to do it yet. But really, both sides have been swapping troops in and out, filling out their strength points, and that's really about it. I think I've got something to do with the English there. Got a while where I got to load up the new month, March, on the track, and I guess that's not a winter month, so I don't think we're going to see an offensive in March either. The French want to build up enough points because, all the trench lines are going to be in place now. So there's no great advantage to doing so. And overall, the French are going to gain more than the Germans, I think. Well, see, the Germans are gaining a lot over March. The world changes a little bit in April, though. That's one of the issues. April 1915, when trench lines collapse, they become these damaged markers. And they can also only be built adjacent to the enemy, and the ones that aren't adjacent to the enemy will be stripped away. So I've got some places where there's some German defenses in the background, just because that's where the headquarters are, and they just, you know, they're digging in for the hell of it, basically. There's no harm in doing so. So maybe we have a reason to do an offensive, but I just don't think I have enough French troops. I don't feel like I have enough now, and I don't think I'm going to have enough here. Maybe in April I will, but the world does get more difficult come April. Alright, I'll probably be loading this one up. It's a short one, but we'll see.